Hey, good evening, everybody. We got one thunderstorm out there right now. I'm going to take a few of your comments here. Tuning in from all over. We've got Sylvania, Hartselle, Douglas, Kelso up in Tennessee, Hope checking in, and Hazel Green checking in. The threat for severe weather tonight is extremely low, but the reason we're bringing more attention to it is because it's been such a crazy and hectic May, and we have come to expect the unexpected. And there's just a little bit of wind shear coming in around midnight tonight with the storm. So right now, these storms don't have a lot of wind shear. They're developing, but the mid-levels is where we're seeing the rotation out there, and that's producing some really small hail, pea-size hail up there, pretty much right along the state line. Zip City checking in tonight, too. So again, we'll go ahead and get into this right now. I'm going to go ahead and show you what's going on. Live view of Huntsville. Not bad. I mean, we've got a pretty good early, it's almost like an early summer night. It's fairly quiet out there, but we do expect some changes down the road. To the north, lightning occasionally picking up a little bit more with that thunderstorm right on the state line. It's moving to the east, and when we talk about rotation in this storm, the radar's looking way up above, and it can see the mid-level rotation, and that's what causes the storm to maintain its intensity. How cold in East Limestone? It's not going to get cold tonight, I can assure you that. It'll get cool tomorrow night there in East Limestone. It's going to be around probably about 56 degrees when you get up in the morning. Got 1,000 of you on here, so let's do this little radar tour. Now, one of the things about this storm, and we're going to show you the model guidance, it actually shows this falling apart as it gets east of Fayetteville. So we'll see. It's timing it out pretty good here. Overall, what's happening is this storm, it gets stronger, then it cycles through, and then it kind of pulses down. So it doesn't have enough wind shear with it to help support anything but some pea-size hail. And it's probably going to stay north of Athens, kind of on a beeline there towards Ardmore as we go through time. So again, very heavy rain with this thunderstorm up here. Probably looking at some gusty winds because I think as it pulses, it kind of lets down a big downdraft occasionally as well. So there's your storm track times. Ardmore, you're in there twice. Again, we've got Ardmore, Alabama and Ardmore, Tennessee, 9:53 there. So just before our 10 o'clock news. Elkton, it'll be close as I think the heaviest rain's probably going to track just to your north. And you can probably hear the thunder there in Athens. And take a look at the velocity. There's no mesocyclone with this. This is all pretty much what we call mid-level rotation going on with the storm. And the lightning's kind of coming and going. So I think we're in the phase here over Minor Hill and Leicester where it's going to kind of flare up a little bit. What you see here, this is the VIL product, vertically integrated liquid. And I like to use this for storm strength and the hail size. And in that green shaded area, that's probably where we're going to have some pea-size hail. But this is kind of on the downward trend here. So maybe that model guidance is right. We're going to take a closer look at that guidance in a second, but I'll kind of turn these on their side. They're actually coming down a bit. They were up to about 30,000 feet. Looks like they're probably closer to 25,000 feet, so they're pretty short as far as thunderstorms. Severe storms usually start going up 45 to 50,000 feet, depending on other things in the environment. But overall, these are healthy thunderstorms. They're strong, but they're not severe. But they are producing a lot of rain and occasional lightning up here. So if this were to pass over the Huntsville International Airport, you might actually pick up that inch of rain. All we need is 1.1 or 1.01 inches to get the record. Now here is a bigger view. This is switching radars over here to Columbus Air Force Base. There's nothing else really behind this initially. We'll wait for the cold front probably for new development. I'll show you this model here. This is the BAMS model. It's different than the one I'm going to show you coming up, and that's the challenge is the models kind of all have a different flavor to them, and you try to pick the one that's the most accurate at the beginning, and that one's the HRRR, and I'll show you that in a second. But what this one's showing, and it was fairly accurate. This nailed the severe weather. We had a few, it's hard to get them all tied together, but this was basically the May 20th event. And what you see here is in the early morning hours, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., the heavy rain moving through. One of the things that all the models agree on is the fact that we're going to clear out by noon and the north wind's going to come in and it's going to dry off. So I put two storm tracks out here, timelines today, because the first one's kind of the real outlier here. There's going to be isolated, kind of like what we have now. And the main threat here is going to be lightning. And it's that brief spin up tornado threat, and I think that doesn't really come to pass until midnight. That's when the shear really starts to pick up Low-level jet's going to be a player as we get past 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. That's the wind about 4,000 feet above the ground. It's coming in at about 40 knots, so that may enhance some things. And that really shows up in the model guidance that I'll show you here in a few minutes, the HRRR model. So the secondary area here, this is the main area for scattered thunderstorms. These could become numerous, and I think we're going to see some intensification as this moves to the east. So someone chiming in Skyline, yeah, I think this is probably going to be a bigger threat. Huntsville east, probably after 6 or 7 in the morning. We're going to go through that here in a second. But so 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. in red. The color just shows the differentiation of the timeline. And then 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. in the gold color. So as we shift, I'm showing you that model data again. So what I want to show you here is the satellite data real quick. You can see out west, thunderstorms are really not flaring up until the front starts to move in. So we'll be monitoring this throughout the night to see how this kind of changes. We've got what's called a short wave kind of flying through now, and that's what's triggering these storms, but the main energy is still out to the west on that cold front. Here's the model that I think is probably the best. This is the HRRR. Notice how it lines up with what's going on right now. At least it's very, very close. As we go forward, it continues on through about 10:15 through Pulaski, near Fayetteville, maybe even Harvest, Monrovia, over to Hazel Green. But watch what happens. I'm going to click the button here. After 10:15, it starts to fizzle out. So that kind of stays along the state line. And this would probably leads me to believe we may not see anything else happen in this window, in that 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock or 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock window. So then we get this break. And then as we get into the 4 o'clock time frame, the front gets closer. The low-level jet starts picking up, and you start to see that area white. That would indicate a fairly robust thunderstorm. So I think the way this looks, at least the model guidance is telling me, we're probably going to, so again, if you don't have a weather radio, you may want to just set your alarm if you live in these areas for about maybe 4 o'clock in the morning. Wake up, see what's going on, something like that. Because this kind of is telling me we may get some isolated severe thunderstorms within this line, and this coincides with when the wind shear is going to be a little bit higher too. Notice how that kind of tracks along the state line. And then the model guidance around 6 a.m., I believe that's going to be close to Rogersville and just to the east of there, just east of Anderson, moving in northern Limestone County. Could see a severe thunderstorm and maybe supercell flavor there. So we definitely want to watch that. And then that continues to move east towards Harvest, Monrovia. And again, I'm giving exact points, but this is model data. It's not exactly going to be that way. So don't set that preface on that. But this is 7:30 in the morning, continuing with strong, intense thunderstorms right on the state line. But this doesn't show a whole lot going on in the shoals. Doesn't mean it won't. Again, it's a conditional threat here. Now, as we go past 8:45, this is when we start to see the line getting stronger. So Scottsboro down to Grant, over to Section, Gunnersville. Notice what's happening. The line, the sun's coming out, starting to warm up a little bit. So I think that line may intensify as it goes over Sand Mountain and Lookout Mountain. We'll definitely have to watch those potential circulations there. Again, that is about 10:30 in the morning. That also represents pretty much, how does Madison County? Well, I mean, everybody's just, it's a conditional threat. I think the higher threat's probably coming after 4 o'clock in the morning or so. And then as we continue on, we have a nice day, nice afternoon Fridays. So again, it's not a high-end threat. I don't want to scare anybody, but we don't like surprises either, do we? I found that out the hard way, right? Here's your 3-day forecast. Coming up, we're going to take another look at the radar model data after the break. But 74 tomorrow, breezy northwest winds kicking in, and then 82. We got a beautiful Friday evening, beautiful weather Saturday. Saturday morning's low will be 56. And then Sunday, we're going with just a slight chance of a shower storm in the afternoon. Going to roll this 1-minute break, and then I'll be back. We're going to take a look at the radar again, and then we're going to go ahead and take a look at your 10-day forecast. 6 more seconds. All right. Again, we're going to go back to radar here and show you what's going on. That storm's kind of weakening a little bit. Not as much lightning, but it's been pulsing back and forth. Yeah, Mike's still hot. I saw that. I noticed that on my way. I had to walk into the studio and reset the radar. Yeah, I don't think we're going to, according to the Weather Service, I don't think it's going to be a big enough threat for us to have a watch. So I don't think we're going to see a tornado watch or a severe thunderstorm watch. We're just out of abundance of caution watching these storms for you overnight. And Eric Burke's going to be coming in tonight, and I got to catch a flight at 4:30, actually 5:30 in the morning. So I'm kind of hoping this holds off at least until later, until my plane gets out of here. Going to move Ross from Orlando to Nashville this weekend. So that ought to be fun, driving a U-Haul. Not looking forward to the 105-degree heat index down there in Tampa either. But this is what we're dealing with right now. I think this storm, the HRRR model is doing a pretty good job on this. It's handling this area and the environment really well. I think this will likely weaken more as it moves east of Fayetteville, and it's not severe. It's not close to being severe right now. There's just not enough wind shear out there for it to be severe. We've got pea-size hail, heavy rain. It'll get your attention, especially if you have a tin roof. Here's what you're looking at in the next 10 days. We finally put May behind us, June welcoming us with open arms. 82 Saturday, 84 Sunday, 86 Monday. It's going to get hot. Get ready for that. Hope your air conditioning works because it's going to be heat index around 95 by as early as Wednesday, I'm thinking. And then our next chance at thunderstorms after Sunday. Sunday is not looking as impressive as it has the last few model runs, but it continues to kind of come and go. Next chance is going to be Thursday. So our primary threat tonight, heavy rain, gusty winds, and pea-size hail. If the storms can capitalize on some of this low-level wind shear, you get maybe an EF0 tornado. And those, you should be fine in the middle of your home with anything like that. So again, be thinking if your weather radio goes off tonight and it's a tornado warning, the most likely outcome is going to be this EF0 type tornado. We're talking 60, maybe 80 mile an hour in a very, very small area. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. I've got your 10 o'clock news coming up here in just a few minutes.